And we are back one more time for another episode of
The Horror Guys! Yay!
I'm Brian.
And I'm the ghost of Dave Woodward. I'll be playing the role of Kevin today.
You watch way too much Dark Shadows.
We've been watching Dark Shadows. Yeah. Yes, we have.
Yeah. We've already done the movies of that, so we can't really talk about Dark Shadows too much.
No.
All three movies, the two oldies and the new one.
Mm-hmm.
But that leaves out the 1,200 episodes of the series.
Boy, it's a lot of series, yeah.
Yeah, we're barely up into the episode 300s or something.
We've been watching it twofold. There's a point when Barnabas appears, which
episode 210,
considered a
sort of a starting point.
A starting point. So we started from that point and from the beginning.
Episode 1 and episode 210, we've been watching them sort of parallel.
Yeah.
We're not quite caught up with the first batch yet, but we're getting close.
It's pretty entertaining, though.
If you're interested in Dark Shadows, the entire series, every one in order, is available on Tubi.
Tubi is the best.
We love Tubi. Yeah. I would say of all the channels out there right now, all the different streaming networks for horror, Tubi is the best.
I think so, yeah.
It used to be Shudder back in the day, but now it's Tubi.
We've come full circle back to commercial television somewhat, but
it's free.
It's free and it's worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so many things. But anyway, this week...
This week is not brought to you by Tubi. This week is brought to you by the Academy Awards of Horror.
Oh, it is.
It's our latest
tomorrow,
book.
Isn't it?
Yeah, the actual Academy Awards is tomorrow.
As we record this.
Afterwards, I may have to do a revision already to see who won or didn't win.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's got 30-some movies that have won Academy Awards over the years. Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Actress, and all the little technical things like Best Makeup and Best Visual Effects. They're all in there.
Everybody complains about, how horror gets spurned at the Oscars, but there's enough to fill a book.
Well, but I mean, it's been 100 years almost, and there's like
they don't
30
get their
movies,
share.
And some of the awards are kind of minor.
They don't get their share.
They are definitely snubbed quite regularly.
That's gonna change.
It's getting better. The last 10 years or so, they have been a lot more horror.
The
involved.
Substance is up this year, and other things, Alien Romulus and Nosferatu. There's 3 of them that are in the works there for the pictures.
Oh, Alien Romulus might get something for visual, I imagine.
I bet they'll get special effects or something lame. Like
I suspect that the Nosferatu will get a couple of good ones, and Substance will be completely ignored.
That sounds like a reasonable
too
prediction.
Horror-y for the Academy.
Yeah. I think
I did see a thing where a couple of
Demi Moore might get Best Actress.
I seriously doubt it.
Really?
Not that she doesn't deserve it. I just don't think they'll do it. I did read where a couple of the people who vote on the Best Picture said they didn't even bother watching Dune 2.
Yeah,
which is nominated.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on. If you're going to vote, you need to watch all of them.
You do, yeah.
Or not go in with your preconceived biases.
If you're not going to watch them, don't vote. Yeah, just withdraw your membership.
I wouldn't vote for Dune 2 for Best Picture, but I mean...
Watch it.
You got to watch it. Yeah, that's only fair.
Yeah, if you're voting, you need to see them all.
But anyway, if you want to know about all the Academy Awards, all the horror movies that have been involved with the Academy Awards, check it out. Go over to horrormonthly.com. Right next to our latest issue is that, and there's a link there. You can get it on Amazon, Kobo, Barnes & Noble, Lulu, our website, or, a dozen other places where ebooks are sold. Of course, you can get it in paperback as well.
Wherever fine books are sold.
Yeah. But the Academy Awards are tomorrow, so we'll probably lay off the advertising on that one afterwards. Although it's good anytime, because these are all good movies.
Yeah, they are.
Actually, if we had one book with all the best horror movies in it, it might be this one. They're by default the best. They've won awards.
There's a reason. Yeah, there's a reason. Yeah.
But believe it or not, we're not going to talk about those today. We've got a whole bunch of other completely random movies, it seems like.
The brand new companion movie from 2025.
BBDBD.
And
it's
then,
a robot, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, and then one called Amulet from 2020. Beneath from 2013. The Chernobyl Diaries from 2012.
That's cool.
And then going even further back, kind of a classic that's been sort of forgotten, El Vampiro, the Vampire, from 1957.
It's very hard to find. Actually, I waited for this one to find it for months. It's not on DVD. I ended up finding it on YouTube, of all places.
And it's one worth checking out.
It's a Spanish language Mexican horror movie from the 50s, which that just translates to crap in 99% of the time.
But this is the 1%
actually really
where
good.
It's actually really decent, yeah.
And of course, we've got some more short films for you.
Uh-huh.
All right, what are we going to start with? The new one, Companion?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
written and directed by Drew Hancock. Stars Sophie Thatcher, Jack Quaid, and Lucas Gage. Runtime is 1 hour and 37 minutes, and there's a trailer that gives too much away in the show notes.
YouTube has as we watched it, I'm like, the trailer points out that she's a robot. So this is not a spoiler.
There is more to it than that.
Oh, there's a lot more to it than that.
Yeah, surprising amount more. Yeah, it still has some surprises. Yeah. So, the trailer gives away.
The movie,
and word of mouth and everybody.
We don't know that she's a robot from the get-go. That's kind of revealed like 20 minutes in or something like that. Mm-hmm. And they treat it like it's a big surprise.
But everybody there knows.
We've seen that, they all know it, and we know it because we've seen the trailer.
So this is soft science fiction.
Oh, yes.
The world doesn't seem very science fiction-y or futuristic. I notice he does have a phone that folds out into a pad.
You can get those now.
Well,
they're not common.
Not quite like that. No, this was very common everyday usage level of they don't have phones like that yet. Not for everyday use. But, they could, And there's companion robots in this world.
And cars that drive themselves.
And self-driving car. True self-driving.
Well, spoiler free, the trailer does give too much away on this. Avoid it ahead of time if you can. Actually, if you know she's a robot, that's all the trailer gives away. They don't really give away anything else. Mm-hmm. And there is more to give away.
Yeah.
We saw the trailer and still enjoyed it. It's not the end of the world. It's enjoyable, low-key science fiction and horror all in one, with a good script, strong cast, and excellent effects.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. We're not going to spoil this, of course, because it's brand newish. But what happens?
Well, we open on Iris shopping at the grocery store, where she sees Josh, and they talk. He's kind of a goof, and they immediately hit it off. Well, they become a couple, and next thing we know, they're on a road trip to a mansion in the country to meet up with his friends. And he was kind of expecting a rustic cabin, and this place is excessive. It's quite a mansion. If
you want to call that a cabin, I'll take a cabin anytime.
It's a mansion of a place, yeah. Well, we meet Eli, Patrick, Kat, and Sergey, who owns the whole place. Iris is nervous around all these strangers, and she kind of has to force a smile through the conversation.
And she's nervous. You figure she's a little bit socially awkward, and she's shy and all that. But there's more to it.
The more they talk, you realize, Well, Iris and Kat talk about Sergey, and Kat says he's married. She's just sort of an accessory or a toy for the rich man.
And they're in the kitchen talking at one point, and Sergey mentions his job makes him get his hands dirty, and they all just kind of assume he's with the Russian mafia because he's got that look.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, she says Iris makes her feel replaceable. Later, when everyone dances, Iris monopolizes Josh. Later, they have what appears to be painful sex.
That didn't look like fun.
Well, it wasn't fun for her. I think it was just,
He was the one doing all the screaming, though.
Yeah. Well, he was getting pleasure from it, yeah. Well, she tells him how perfect this trip has been. I just want you to be happy, Josh, she says. Well, Iris goes to the lake where Sergey is relaxing. He hits on Iris, which makes her uncomfortable. And she doesn't wanna, but he starts kissing her. I know what you're for, he says. And she comes back to the house covered in Sergey's blood. Everybody sees it, and she explained exactly what happened by the lake. He forced himself on her, and she killed him quite vigorously. And Josh commands Iris go to sleep. And this is where we are clear that Iris is a robot, and they all knew she was a robot, but they're not supposed to kill people. They've got all kinds of safety measures in place, and she's not supposed to do this. So I'm going to stop there.
Yeah,
because more happens from there.
Why did she kill that guy when they're programmed not to hurt anybody? Actually, at some point we get the three, not exactly the 3 laws of robotics, but they're not allowed to hurt a person. They're not allowed to hurt another robot, and they have to follow instructions.
They can't lie.
They can't lie. Right? Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
But she's doing these things. Why?
Something has gone wrong, and we find out why.
Oh yeah, we do.
Yeah, and it gets quite complicated. Yeah.
Well, okay. We've already said that the trailers gave too much away, but really no more than we have already. Yeah, she's a robot. But we knew the nature of that before we went in, although the movie treats it like a reveal. The main plot, however, wasn't in the trailer, so that's okay. I mean, the robot thing is not the main point.
It's
That's not the story.
It's not a Terminator situation where a rogue
Yeah,
robot is going on a
it's the
killing
whys
spree.
and the hows and the what results.
It's more complicated. Yeah.
We do like that it takes more or less modern technologies like phones and cars and updates them all just enough to be sci-fi. Mm-hmm. As Kevin said, it's not like Star Trek. It's the real world with a couple of high-tech props.
Very realistically believable.
Early on, right after Sergei dies, Eli calls the police. Later on, one cop shows up and doesn't even make it to the house.
Well, that's part of the future, too. They don't need cops as much. There's not as much crime. I don't know.
Oh, I'm not going to spoil it, but something happens to the cop. And did they only have one cop because they never sent out anybody else?
We never saw more cops.
Come on.
Yeah.
We're not that far out in the country.
That was a little bit. Yeah.
It's probably best to go into this one blind, but yeah, it's very fun. We liked it.
Yeah, it's a nice mix of horror and science fiction. I liked it.
I'm not sure if this is going to be my favorite. It might be my favorite of the week.
It's my favorite of the week.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to say that.
2020's Amulet, written and directed by Romola Garai, stars Carla Jury, Alec Secareno, and Imelda Staunton. Hour and 39 minutes. Ooh, I bet Imelda Staunton's going to play the baddie.
She does that.
She always does that.
Does she ever play a good guy?
Huh.
I don't think she ever has.
Not that I can think of.
Not that I can
I'm
think
sure
of.
she probably has at some point.
She probably has out there. Yeah, or at least neutral. Yeah.
Well, this one is slow-moving slog through depression and despair and guilt and entrapment. Ooh, fun.
Yeah, good times.
Gradually, we figure out what happened in the past and what is happening now by flashing back and forth. Even when we piece it together, it's not that satisfying. Horror guy Kevin liked it somewhat more than horror guy Brian, thinking it has some interesting elements. 1 thumbs down and 1 moderate thumbs up.
Do you think that still applies to
I
your
think
opinion?
this was boring as hell.
Okay.
And
And actually, the more I thought about it afterwards, like some of the points of it, say, oh yeah, that's kind of clever, and yeah.
It's called Amulet. What does the amulet have to do with anything?
We don't.
There is a thing. There's an amulet.
We don't really know. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
There's stuff.
Somebody in the past had it, and he still got it, and it means nothing.
Stuff that's not explained very well. Yeah.
Stuff that's not explained very well.
Well, I think
That may be the whole subtitle of this movie.
Yeah.
Amulet and stuff that's not explained very well.
Well, I think he found the amulet and it tethered to him from that, and what he did.
Maybe.
I can't say much without giving away. Well, give us a little taste of what happened.
Well, Thomas wakes up in his cabin in the woods. Then he reports to work running a roadblock on a desolate road. This is like somewhere in Eastern Europe, and you could picture like the Russian border or something. He's out there sitting in his little booth with the up and down roadblock thing, and
Yeah, he doesn't run.
there's nobody for miles.
He doesn't run the roadblock like going through it. No, he literally is.
No, he's the guy in
manning it.
charge. Yes.
Yeah. But it's somewhere, some border where nobody hardly ever crosses.
Yeah.
It's really not much of a job.
Actually, he talks about the border further on, so he's like the pre-border guy.
Yeah.
Warning you better not go any further, you'll get shot. Mm-hmm. Well, he digs a hole and finds a little statuette. Then Thomas wakes up in a homeless shelter in the city. He then waits on the corner for construction work. That night, he dreams about that roadblock again.
He was clean shaven in the past.
Yes, you can tell the difference because he's got a beard in the present. Mm-hmm. A woman runs up to him and he almost shoots her. Suddenly, the homeless shelter is on fire and he has to wake up and get out quickly. He passes out and loses all his belongings. He wakes up in the hospital and the nurse tells him that Sister Claire brought him in. He goes to see the sister and she's kept his photos but says she didn't find any money. She's lying. Mm-hmm. He says that he doesn't want to go back home, even though the war is over. Sister Claire takes Thomas to a place where he can stay with a woman named Magda. Magda feeds him and explains that she's living with and caring for her dying mother up on the top floor. All he has to do is help around the house, which they cannot maintain on their own. On the way out, Sister Claire throws Thomas's money in the sewer.
She was lying.
Yeah. Magda explains that they don't have any electricity since the old woman keeps trying to put her fingers in the electrical socket.
Okay.
You could
That's
take the
great.
breaker out for the upstairs bedroom.
You could.
You
yeah,
could.
Yeah.
Well, Thomas dreams about the roadblock and the woman he picked up from the road. He tells her that the nearest village is 2 days' walk away. She's trying to cross the border to find her daughter. He invites her to stay with him, and she sees that little statuette that he dug up. Thomas notices that Magda's house is falling apart and filthy, so he gets to work fixing things up. Magda doesn't want him to fix things up, but he sees the need. When she goes out, he fixes the toilet anyway, and he finds a dead thing in the toilet, a little bat-like creature which he stomps to death. He's never seen one like this, and Magda says neither is she.
Lion. Lion.
In the woods, that woman talks about the little statue as an amulet. Maybe it will protect me, she says.
Yeah, maybe. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we'll stop there.
Okay.
It doesn't really get any more exciting than that.
Well, you do find out more about what's going on upstairs with Mother.
Yeah, and you find a little bit more about what happened in the past.
Uh-huh.
Well, the place is really bleak and awful. You know something's going to happen, something bad is going to happen in both timelines and stories. So I guess impending dread is the mood here.
So much
which
guilt.
It does really well.
Guilt and remorse and dread. Yeah, it lays it on thick.
If you want to feel guilty, watch this film.
Yeah.
Visually, it's all about the depression and bleakness, but the plot is really thin, and the scares are few and far between. I thought it was ultra dull, and I admit I kind of was tuned out so much toward the end that I may have missed some meaning to it, beyond just getting revenge on Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there's some kind of feminist message that I totally dozed through.
Well, I don't know about strictly feminist, but, if you do bad things, there's repercussions. And yeah, it was bad things to a woman, but, I don't know. I liked it more than disliked it.
Okay.
But I can't say why, because that'll spoil it. You need to see things for yourself.
I'm trying to picture why. Okay, never mind. It's awful.
It was not. Okay. It was not awful.
We are divided on this one.
We are split on that one. Yeah.
All right. That takes us to 2013's Beneath, directed by Larry Fessenden. And he's done some good stuff.
Yeah, he has.
Usually he's an actor, but he has directed a few of these that we've done.
Mm-hmm.
Written by Tony Daniel and Brian Smith. Stars Bonnie Dennison, Daniel Zavato, and John Orsini. Hour and 30 minutes. Trailer in the show notes. And this is one of the ones you got on DVD somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, Companion is streaming currently. I don't remember where, but it's not going to be hard to find. Amulet. Where did Amulet come from? That was the DVD also, wasn't it?
I think it was, yeah. Yeah, I had it on physical media.
Yeah, the ones this week are a little bit harder to find, is why we grouped them together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and this was a DVD that we got. I don't think it was a dollar store DVD. But,
no,
yeah.
It was used from one of the dealers.
Yes, yeah. You may have a little trouble finding many of these this week. Spoiler free.
Well, me?
I did the last one, didn't I?
Oh, well, I'm going to do this one because I already read the first two words.
The
peril. Well, the peril seemed a little bit contrived and brought on themselves at times, but it's a decent creature feature. There's people trapped, and they start turning on each other, which makes the situation as worse. The cast worked well together, practical effects were pretty good, and it entertained overall.
Overall, I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
As you said, there's a couple of minor problems that we'll get to at the end.
Because we open on a lake. It's steamy and isolated looking, but this lake is not that big. It's not that huge.
Yes.
And they're trapped out in the water. Shore's not that far away.
It's not, yeah.
More than one point.
It's as far away as the plot wants us to be, because different scenes makes it look like they're miles from shore, and other scenes make it look like it's 50 feet away.
Right over there.
Yeah.
Well, under the water, we zoom in on a swimmer. Something comes up behind her, and Johnny wakes up. It was just a bad dream. Yeah. Well, Johnny, Kitty, Simon, Matt, Zeke, and Deb are taking a road trip to a very isolated private lake. And as they talk, we get some idea of who these people are. They've all just graduated high school, and this is their last big party together before they split up. Yeah. It takes all of them to lug the big, heavy rowboat to the water. Kitty whines that there's no cell service out here. Well, Johnny likes her, and so gives her a big tooth on a necklace for safety. Except she gives it back. saying she's with Matt now, and it's not in high school anymore.
Yeah, so this is apparently Johnny's father or grandfather or something owns a bunch of land that has this lake on it. Mm-hmm. And you can see that he goes into a driveway and he unpadlocks the gate and lets him in. So this is very isolated. This is not a vacationer's lake.
Right, but they're going to go for it anyway. Suddenly, Mr. Parks, an old man, shows up. "Does your grandpa know you're here?" he asks. "You know better than that, Johnny." The old man warns that Johnny can't let anyone in the water. And Johnny seems to know this. Well, clearly Parks and Johnny, they know there's something wrong with the lake. The 6 recent graduates pile into the rowboat anyway and head out into the water. There's a site on the other side where they're going to do some camping. Halfway across the lake, Matt, Deb, and Kitty want to swim. Well, Johnny just wants to get the group across the lake, but he can't persuade them. And he puts on his protective tooth necklace when no one is looking. And something bumps the boat from underneath. Yeah, they see something big moving under the water toward the 3 swimmers. But he doesn't say anything right away. Everyone gets creeped out and gets back in the boat. They lose the oar. Deb reaches for it, and a huge fish bites her badly. The huge fish bites the lost oar in half as Deb bleats out into the water. We should stop there.
Yeah. Anyway, they lose their oars fairly quickly. And the rest of the movie is them trying to row back to shore one way or another.
Paddling by hand or paddling with the lid of the cooler, which also gets chomped because this fish is really aggressive.
And if you've ever been on a rowboat on a lake, if there was even the slightest bit of wind, they'd have been moving and got there eventually. And even just a little bit of paddling they did, that lake wasn't that big.
Yeah, but it's good drama.
My biggest complaint with the movie is I don't understand what Johnny's game plan was. Why bring those people here in the first place when he knew there was a killer fish monster in the lake? He didn't seem to hate these people. He wanted to take care of the girl, whose name I've already forgotten.
Why
go there?
It just seems unclear.
He knew bad things was going to happen.
Yeah.
Well, even before the action start, there are just way too many people standing up on that little boat.
Oh, yeah, that was precarious.
And that thing never does tip over. But it sure looks like it would. Mm-hmm. The lake never really looks all that big. And even with one oar, or a lid of a cooler, or, trash, or whatever they were using, they could have made it to shore fairly quickly. But depending on the angle of the shot, they never really look that far from the shore as the plot requires. Also, the fish isn't that big. How did it eat 5 people?
Or most of them,
anyway. It's a big fish, but it's not a whale.
Well, my thought was there was just more than one fish.
You never see more than one at a time. Most of the time it had an oar sticking out of it.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
I think it was just one.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, the creature effects are pretty decent. It does, in fact, look like a big fish.
Very big.
It's not very expressive. It's a fish, but it does the job. It's not the smartest film going, but if you want to see a big fish picking people off one at a time, this is the one.
Reminded me a little bit of The Raft, too.
Yes.
Stephen King.
Oh, I didn't put that in. I was going to mention that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Creepshow 2.
Yeah.
I was going to make a link, but we haven't reviewed Creepshow 2.
Trapped on the water. Can't swim for it. Yeah.
But yeah, it's not a demonic whale. It's not a shark. It's just a big fish.
Just a big fish.
Just a fish.
Yeah.
As a very well-fed fish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, well. Yeah, overall, I enjoyed it, but it's dumb. It's dumb.
I enjoyed it, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2012, Chernobyl Diaries. Directed by Bradley Parker. Written by Oren Peli, the paranormal...
Paranormal Activity?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Kerry Van Dyke and Shane Van Dyke wrote it also. It stars Jesse McCartney, Jonathan Sadowski, and Olivia Taylor-Dudley. Hour and 26 minutes. And I liked this one more than I thought I would.
Me too. Yeah.
What spoiler-free?
Spoiler-free? Well, the formula this one follows is a little bit predictable.
It
but
is.
It moves nicely and it's well made. I mean, you got this group of people going to the Chernobyl site, and they're isolated and cut off, and you know what's going to happen. Bad things are going to happen to them. The cast is believable. The script is pretty good. And it's a little bit rushed at the end, but the effects get the job done. We'd call it, maybe about a 7 out of 10.
It kind of wants to be a found footage, but it's also not.
Right.
Mostly it's not, but kind of wants to be.
Kind of started that way, and I thought that's what, but ends up not so much.
Yeah, we open with the usual found footage stuff of a bunch of young people vacationing in Europe. Natalie, Amanda, Chris, and Paul record all their travels. Chris plans to propose to Amanda sometime during the trip, and then credits roll. The group almost gets into a fight with a bunch of Russians on the road, so instead of Moscow, they decide to go to Chernobyl instead. Paul knows a guy, Yuri, who's into extreme tourism. There's an abandoned town that's still there, and it'd be really cool for a photo shoot. Everybody knows that the radiation won't hurt them for just one day. All right.
What could go wrong?
Yeah.
And actually, if you're interested, you can really have tours of Chernobyl, the abandoned areas, and there's one town, the main town where the tours take place. There was an amusement park that was due to open, and it never opened, so that's all creepy and atmospheric, and we don't see that actual. They didn't film at the actual town.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
But it does exist, and I read that it's like $100 a person, and they'll take you on a tour of this area.
Well, in the morning, they go to Yuri's travel agency, and Yuri explains to Paul all about the planned trip. Two other people, Michael and Zoe, join the group as they board an old bus. On the drive, Yuri explains what happened at Chernobyl, in case you didn't know. It's been like 40 years.
It has been quite a while.
So younger viewers might not be aware of it.
Yeah.
Nature has reclaimed its rightful home, he translates. They arrive at a checkpoint, and Yuri says, "Let me do the talking. Put your cameras away." It's all very secure looking, and Yuri says they won't be allowed in today. There's some maintenance or something going on. Yuri seems confused, but he says there's more than one way.
He knows a back way.
They go in through the back road, and it all kind of looks a little sketchy now.
And nobody knows they're there.
They're not supposed to be there. The guards are sending people away, and no one knows.
What could go wrong?
Well, they pause to look at the abandoned city, and then stop at a pond. They see weird, dead, mutant fish. They drive into not the ones from beneath.
No.
Not that big.
Yeah.
They drive into town next, and Yuri says the radiation has only recently died down enough to be here. They park and walk around the empty buildings, and it's very quiet, with no birds or animals. They go inside one of the apartment buildings. Yuri sees some poop on the ground and stealthily pushes it aside. Then they hear movement downstairs. Does the bear poop in the apartment building?
Yes, he does.
He does.
Surprise.
Yuri goes to investigate, and a huge bear charges through. They all hightail it back to the van. Yuri says he's seen dogs and wolves before, but never a bear. Well, they get out there, and of course the van won't start. You figure it's one of the cheap old Russian vans, but no, the engine has been destroyed.
Yeah, somebody did a work on those wires.
But they're supposed to be there alone.
There's nobody else there. Who could have done this?
Yuri tries to call for help on his radio, but there's no answer, as night falls.
Oh, crap.
The tourists all start arguing. Yuri wants to spend the night in the van and walk out in the morning. Zoe and Michael are hikers, and they suggest walking out, but Yuri says no, not at night. Then they all hear sounds outside that sounds like a baby crying. Yuri pulls a gun out of the glove compartment and investigates as Chris follows. Shots are fired in the dark, and Chris comes running back to the van injured. There was a lot of them, he screams. They got Yuri.
Oh, my.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're going to have to watch and see how this goes.
So hilarity ensues.
Well, obviously, there are a bunch of mutants. We know that. We can figure this out pretty easily.
In the morning, Yuri hasn't come back. Chris can't walk now.
And they are stuck.
And they can't start the van, and they don't know for sure where they are.
What
are they going to do?
Die.
Who's going to survive this?
Well, my big question is, what do all these mutants eat? Because there are a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
There's no gardens. There's no animals.
Not many.
Very few people probably visit there.
Uh-huh.
Most of the tourists here have cameras, but it's not really a found footage film for most of the run, although there are parts. This is one of those films where most of the tension comes from everyone screaming over each other all the time.
True.
It was shot in Hungary and Serbia, not really Chernobyl. Still, the abandoned town and buildings are obviously real and very atmospheric. The ending felt rushed and wasn't explained enough, but the rest of the movie was pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I didn't think there were a lot of surprises. Just
No, once you figure out they're going to Chernobyl and they're not alone, you know what's going on.
Watch the group get picked off and see who's going to survive at the end, if anybody. Yeah.
It's good, but it's not
good.
Not exactly what you call innovative.
But entertaining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
1957's The Vampire, also known as El Vampiro.
I was very surprised by this one.
Directed by Fernando Mendez, written by Ramon Oban, Ramon Rodriguez, stars Abel Salazar, Ariadne Welter, Carmen Montejo, and German Robles. Hour and 23 minutes. And, my description says trailer in the show notes, but it might be I think it's the full movie.
I think the whole thing is available on YouTube. Yeah.
Spoiler-free.
Spoiler-free for a black and white Mexican vampire movie from the 1950s. This was surprisingly entertaining. The effects are simple but effective. It has a decent story and it moves well. And we would recommend it if you're in the mood for an oldie.
Well, if you're a long-time listener, years ago I was promising a book on werewolves. Mm-hmm. And every so often I will still watch another werewolf movie to make this eventual book happen.
There's a lot of them.
I'm getting bogged down with all these Spanish language werewolf movies. I basically had to learn Spanish to watch these things. And I'll tell you, those things are god-awful terrible, every last one of them. So I wasn't expecting much here. The Mexican horror movies of the 50s and 60s were...
a lot of garbage.
A lot of masked wrestlers show up in these things.
But there are some diamonds in the pile of
But
poop.
this one
you have to
was...
sort through and...
really good.
Yeah, it was.
We open with a vampire standing in a courtyard looking at a woman in a window. He turns into a bat and flies into her window. He bites her as credits roll. A train comes to Sierra Negra, and the men unload a big wooden crate that came all the way from Romania. What could that be?
Box full of dirt.
Marta Gonzalez also gets off the train. Her uncle was supposed to pick her up, but the train was late and he left. The station master says no one goes out after sunset. There's another man there with the same problem. There's no way into town. Suddenly, a carriage drives up to pick up that big box of soil. Mr. Duval, who's lived in the area for 10 years, has ordered this box of soil shipped to him from Romania. And we're told that he's a strange man who only goes out at night and wears a cape, says the nosy station master.
Could he be a vampire, perhaps?
She and the other man from the station catch a ride with a strange man on a carriage. It sounds an awful lot like Dracula at this point, doesn't it?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It diverges wildly a little bit later.
Yeah.
In town, they're having a funeral. Suddenly, a woman in black appears and watches them ominously. And she's very good at this. She's very intense looking. Mm-hmm. I mean, she could have been the main villain herself.
She's perfect for the role.
Yeah. The procession goes to a crypt, and the men carry the coffin downstairs. They all look at the plaque that says Count Carol de la Vood. And they seal the coffin in the mausoleum and march back out. The carriage man drops off Marta and that other man just outside of town. He introduces himself, Enrique, a traveling businessman. Marta has come to take care of her ailing aunt. Well, that woman in black watches them from afar and follows them. Could she be a vampire?
I bet she could be.
She could be.
Yeah.
We don't know for sure, but she sure acts like it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they arrive at the hacienda, and the servant Anselmo says they can't get anyone to work there, as the townspeople are starting to move away. Uncle Emilio is there, and he's happy to see Marta. Enrique says he's got to move on, but there's nowhere to go, so they insist that he stays there for the night. Well, Aunt Eloisa comes down the stairs. She's the scary woman in black we've been seeing. The old sick aunt has died of fear of vampires, and she was insistent that there was a vampire living in their house. Well, could they be? They talk about the rules of vampires. Enrique confides in Uncle Emilio. Emilio called him, and he's arrived secretly. He's a doctor, here to treat the woman who died. Well, he's a little late for that.
Yeah.
But he's also a little open to some other ideas,
he
like
might,
the supernatural.
Might help him with this vampire problem.
Yeah.
He could be,
I will go
a little Van Helsing action there.
a little bit there.
Yeah.
Van Helsing? El Helsing?
Senior
Helsing?
Senior Helsing, yeah.
Well, the bat transformations are very low tech, but they're also very smoothly done.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he pulls up his cape, and suddenly there's a bat, but it looks good for as basic as it was.
Camera trick, but yeah, it worked. Yeah.
It's got a fairly involved plot that does all make sense. The characters are distinct and interesting, and the acting is pretty decent. The repetitive music is a little annoying, but it's bearable. Yeah, it's got this theme song that sort of repeats a lot.
And it's heavy.
Yeah. Don't park your coffin where the sun shines. You're supposed to hide it in a dark place. But I want to know how Maria just sort of strangles Eloise, the vampire woman in black. She gets strangled at the end and she just dies. But she's a vampire.
Well, I don't know. Maybe she wasn't a full vampire or something. I don't know. She seemed vampire-y, though.
She had the powers. She
was
walking through walls and teleporting and stuff.
She had magic, so yeah.
More than a Renfield.
Yeah, I thought that stood out, too.
Yeah, especially after she even told us the rules for killing vampires. Little sketchy there.
Yeah.
Considering it's a Mexican-made horror movie from the 50s, it's surprisingly good.
And, Count Alucard is Dracula spelled backwards.
Yes. What's the guy's name?
Duval.
Lavud and Duval, yes.
Yeah, they tried to disguise.
We were not fooled. But yeah, pick that one up or find it if you can. It's pretty good. El Vampiro.
Mm-hmm. Yep, worth checking out for sure.
2020 short film, The Mayflower.
Science fiction horror.
Directed by Christopher Goodman. Written by Benjamin Ferry. Stars Jason Ryle and Benjamin Ferry. A little under 7 minutes. And it's on YouTube. What happens?
Well, an engineer aboard a spaceship wakes up from a nightmare. The AI says there was a collision alert while he was asleep. But it was a false alarm.
Was it, though?
Oh, no, it was not. He's hallucinating terrible things. But is that just a side effect of being in hypersleep for so long? If the crew is asleep and the engineer just woke up, though, why is there all this old food and wrappers all over the table?
Somebody's been eating.
We soon find out why. Yeah.
Well, the set design and spaceship effects are really well done. The story itself is pretty simple, but there's nothing here that we don't understand by the end. It looks good, the makeup/body horror effects are well done, and it's absolutely worth a watch.
Yep, that was a good one.
And it was short. I like short.
Yeah, shorts. Short should be short.
All right, now I think my favorite short of the week is this next one. Mm-hmm. Trust Me, A Witness Account of the Goat Man from 2020.
It was weird.
Directed by Nate Ruger, written by Leslie O'Neill, stars Alexandra Baylis and Luke Cook. It's a little over 10 minutes, and it's on YouTube also. Well, we watch a young couple get settled into a nice-looking cabin in the woods. He's planned this little getaway so that he can propose to her later. He even practices his proposal speech outside. Later, they go for a walk in the woods and see a nasty-looking blanket that smells bad and is probably covering a dead animal.
Ew.
Then they notice there's something in the woods that seems to be following them.
Could it be the goat man?
Could be. The boyfriend suddenly gets stomach cramps, and their day is ruined. But it could get worse.
And it does, yeah. And
well,
the goat man is, in fact, a real legend in the Midwest.
Have you ever seen one?
A cryptid. No, I have not.
I have not either.
Yeah, but it's a cryptid if you look it up. This was well shot and paced. Characters acting is believable, and it's got some very creepy parts. And the moral of the story is simple. Don't go camping.
That's your rule, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. It's one I live by, yeah.
Kevin is not a camping fan.
I'm not a camping fan, no.
All right, which takes us to 2023 short film, Apotemnophilia.
Okay.
What's the name of the film? I don't know. I'm going to have to read it again.
Apotemnophilia.
Apotemnophilia. There's a link in the show notes.
Which is a real word. It's not made up.
Written and directed by Jano Pita. Stars Lucia Azcolitia and Michael Cullis. 9 minutes, and it is on YouTube. And, okay, what happens?
Well, it's the premiere of Clara's big stage comeback after her issues.
Something happened in the past.
Something happened, yes. Well, she's all made up. She's nicely dressed and ready to go till she notices something crawling around inside her leg.
Oh, my. She's got sandworms or something.
So the door is locked, and as her manager, producer, and stage guy beat on the door to open up and get out on stage, thinking, she's just being a prima donna, Clara is inside doing battle with something horrible.
We looked it up so you don't have to. Apotemnophilia is also known as Body Integrity Identity Disorder, BIID. It's a rare condition that causes an intense desire to amputate a healthy limb. Oh my.
Uh-huh.
And that pretty much spoils most of the plot of the film. The gore and creature effects are really well done. The screaming people outside added just the right amount of tension, as if the creatures weren't enough. And the ending is perfect as well. Drip,
Drip.
drip,
Drip.
drip.
Yeah.
Yeah, very nice.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Hey, that's all we got for this week.
Okay.
Tune in next week when we'll have 5 more movies and some shorts.
Yay.
And sometime in the next, before the next episode, the next issue of Horror Monthly will be out.
Cool.
And you'll been looking for that. Where would you find that?
Wherever fine books are sold.
I was going to say horrormonthly.com.
Okay,
It's the easiest place.
Horrormonthly.com.
If you got a regular place where you buy it, it'll be there.
Mm-hmm.
But if you've never bought one, stop on over to horrormonthly.com. Pick up the newest one. And, hey, there's all 40-some back issues now.
Nice.
They're all available. In paperback and ebook, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But in the meantime, I'm feeling a little thirsty, aren't you?
Yeah.
What would you like?
Some blood.
Blood. I knew you were going to say that. Yes, I think next week is going to be a vampire week.
All right.
Because it's just that kind of week.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Thirsty.
Yeah, we were wondering what we could watch the other night, and we ended up watching 30 Days of Night.
Mm-hmm.
We've already
So
reviewed
good.
that one, so we're not going to talk about it next week. But oh man, that if other than Dracula kind of vampire, I think it may be the best non-Dracula vampire movie.
I think so.
Very, very close.
Yeah, it's really good.
And you can look that up on the site. I don't know when that was. It's been a couple of years, but we liked it then too.
30 Days a Night.
But next week, more vampires.
All right.
Meanwhile, who are you?
I'm Kevin.
And I'm Brian. And when will we see them?
Next week.
We will.
See ya.
See ya.